Hi, in the name of Christ, how you doing? It's your girl, Cranky Garabo. I hope you're good, I hope you're peachy, I hope you're Stella. And I hope you're in a neat little bunch. If not, join the party, okay? I'm wearing this high establishment. As you can tell, there's something going on over there. Because I put my hair, after washing it, after treating it with product, I moisturize by leaving it in that state for 24 hours. In a plastic bag. So there is a plastic bag underneath here. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? Can you hear that? Plastic bag. Yeah. So that plastic bag is going nowhere until 24 hours have progressed. I'm only gonna take it off pretty much just before taking a shower. So yeah. That's why I'm all up in a dug. I thought about wearing a wig, but I was like, Suga, like, this works perfectly fine, so let's just keep it. Let me put some caveats out there. I am wearing application makeup, so if it bounces around all over the show, have mercy. It is what it is. It's an app. Secondly, my captions are not always accurate, so look out for that. I don't have time to edit them. One day is one day. Okay, God willing. Yeah, so we just keep them as inaccurate as they are. Oh goodness, like, whoa. Oh wee, this place is so hot. It is currently 1849. I gotta wait until the day's over, otherwise I'm gonna boil to death. Boil to death. Boil to death. Boil to death. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I would boil to death, but you know, it is what it is. If we're boiling to death, then I guess to death we boil. Alrighty. Look, you know, I don't even want to talk today. I've been disheartened the whole day because of my dreams, and just to let you guys know, these dreams, they actually have an effect on me spiritually, because of the fact that, you know, there's an actual intention spiritually to achieve a strange thing. Yeah, what you're listening to over there is plastic. A strange little thing, to achieve a strange little thing. Like, yeah, then like they're properly thoroughly with every whatever. So because of that, you get all, you know, disquieted in your bones, and you like all like anyway, whatever. So I'm like, today. Are you wondering why I'm wearing this top again? I get to. Like, I don't have clothes. And even if I did, they're not cool enough, and neither do I have energy to go digging them out. Wherever they are. Oh, this is so cooling. It's so cooling. It's so cooling. It's like Coolio, but like the living version. Alright, whatever. King. You know when people break a gnome? Imagine there being some kind of a gargoyle. A gargoyle. Or a gnome. Let's keep it at a gnome. A gnome. Yeah. Like a gargoyle or a gnome. Just outside your house, like decorating. You know, your guardian. It's decorating your garden. And it's just hanging out there as a gargoyle or a gnome. But a movable gnome. Alright? Or a movable gargoyle. I don't know why anybody would want to decorate their house with a gargoyle, but that's just the thing. Let's call it a gargoyle. What is a gargoyle? Shall we go to school for that? Those of you that have confusion concerning gargoyles, let's rid you of that confusion and just set the record straight. Okay. A gargoyle is that menacing statue that you find outside rich people's houses, and it's like, what's going on? And like, you know, it's all monstrous. It's got teeth, fangs coming out, and it's ugly. It's got wings. It looks like a dwarf. Looks like Pinky or something. Whatever, it looks like a Smurf, but like a really ugly Smurf. Or Snow White's dwarf, just more menacing. Kind of like with fangs coming out and blood dripping. And it's got like wings, and it's like, whatever. On two of them, they like to have them in pairs, whatever that's about. Usually they are very ornamental outside rich people's houses, so I feel like they're giving themselves away by looking like members of the Illuminati or something, just by having those gargoyles. Anyway, whatever. National monuments love gargoyles all up in their grill. Like, you know, humanity and their obsession with demons. Like, wow, okay, do you take your demons, okay? Anyway, whatever, right? So, like, now that I have described a gargoyle to you, I feel as if though if you still don't know what I'm talking about, Google it, you guys. It's 2023. What's up? You don't have to just run with anybody's 411. It is spelled G-A-R-G, like garg, and then goyle. Yeah, so O-Y-L-E, gargoyle. Y-L-E, not oil like the oil that is on my scalp right now. Anyway, whatever, fine. Gargoyle. Google the gargoyle, and once you've got that imagery plastered in your face, we're gonna then go on right ahead to like make the story a thing that we're telling. Gargoyle, you guys. It's like, ooh, plastic in. It's got long bora. It must cover my whole head. I believe it is covering my whole head. Paranoia. Gargoyles will make you do that. So think of a gargoyle. Two of them, but like at this point, let's just speak about one giant gargoyle, or one gargoyle that can split into two and decorate a rich man's house. Or gnomes. You can run with gnomes, but gnomes tend to be a tad bit less incendiary, a tad bit less diabolical in comparison to gargoyles, because I mean, like, gnomes look like these innocent little dwarfish, look like they're about to go and protect Snow White, mystical creatures. But I mean, if it's magical, it's all devilish, it goes to hell. But let's go and grab a gargoyle that's like a gargoyle. It's like a magical creature that's properly so ugly and so menacing that you wouldn't want to see it. Like, duh. Okay, you wouldn't want to see it. Yeah. So we're gonna run with things that look obviously menacing. So I change my mind. I track back on the gnome, because gnomes look better than gargoyles. They will trick you into thinking they're cute when they're still devilish. Like a fairy godmother will trick you into believing she's cute when she's devilish. Because what are you doing with a fairy? You know what I mean? Like, you just need Jesus. Like, that's it. Anyway, so now that we've said that and we put that out there, let's go back to the gargoyle. The one gargoyle, giant gargoyle, that splits into two, seeing as we need balance in these streets. Now, imagine there being a movable gargoyle, so it's not part of the structure. It's like, you know, not part of the fixture. You bought it at like a builder's warehouse because you that gargoyle loving random occult beast. So you buy funny little occult paraphernalia. You're really like deeply intrigued by conduits for satanic spirits, because you imagine that insofar as you can just posture one in front of your house, it'll ward off demonic entities or something. When, I don't know, Kingdom Divided can't stand? Ugh. Yeah, but like, you don't know that, right? Because you are deceived by doctrines of demons and destructive heresies. So picture then a scene where a little Illuminati wannabe guy grabs like a giant gargoyle that can split into two, and then just kind of chills them, these gargoyles. This one gargoyle that's now two, because it's got magical powers. We did say it is diabolical. Okay, herein lies the gargoyle, and this guy postures them, two of them just opposite the, like, you know, the staircase. One on the left side of the staircase, or the other on the right side of the staircase, as it is entering his house. His household, and he's thinking, ooh, look at me, I've got an ornament at the beginning of my household like rich people. So this gargoyle makes it clear that I'm rich and I'm a Simba chibi. Alright, so he feels all chuffed with these gargoyles, this Oki, and then he just kind of like hangs them over there, gargoyle. And then, okay, and then there's like a little old sweet lady, okay? A little old sweet lady that can sing. We just keep making these things up as we go along because it's an intriguing story. This sweet little lady that is passing your gated house, your high walls, since you're wealthy and everything, is like just singing a melody, you know, on some melody. Don't live like people do. Melody. And then she hits like a high note. That's what's good. She then hits like a high note, like in the middle of all that old lady body, out comes this like high pitched note. What? And as she's just like walking right by this gargoyle infested property, she doesn't touch the gargoyle, does not even touch the gate of the property, only passes by it as she's walking a dog. Let's bring a dog into the picture. She's walking a dog, and this dog, as she's passing this property, is like, arf, arf, ooh, ooh, arf, arf, ooh, 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 arf, So obviously something's agitated with the dog, but you know, the lady knows that she's like a dog whisperer. She serenades the dog with her beautiful voice. And she's like, ah, 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 ooh, ooh, ah, ah. Remember, she's a singing lady. Oh my goodness, I need to get my edits out. Guys, it's Monday. Like, I don't know why my life is so hard. Why is everything so hard? I'm about to explain the hardship of my life. The thing that's caused me to be so sorrowful today. And we don't know why that's even a thing. But, like, we're gonna talk about the gargoyle owners. It's like, as in, die, deteriorate. Die, man, cease to be like proper. Somebody call a coroner. Little olang se toposena, khale re sa se batle mo lifeng. Mara sa bua. Anyway, man, ish. Anyway, you know when your computer is so slow that when you click on something it takes like a good 10 years just to like admit that you just clicked. Anyway, whatever. So here's this like gargoyle, you know, not this lady with the dog, and the dog's like, right? And the lady's like, ooh, ooh, like, dog, stop, like, whoa, like, stop. And the dog is like pulling the lady as she's walking with a leash with it. And the lady's like, whoa, whoa, dog, whoa, come on, like, I'm just an old lady, my bones are frail, my bones are frail, my bones are so frail. Dog, you can't take me to whenceforth you goeth, for thine bones be frail, doggy dog. Don't be a dog, you dog. That's this lady. But she doesn't realize that the dog is onto something here. Because, I mean, the dog, after all, is creation and it's groaning to see the sons of God revealed. Dog is out here walking past an Illuminati house. Like, whoa. I mean, of course the thing's gonna bark. Like, it does not like gargoyles. Anyway, the lady's like, oh, dog, dog, doggy dog, dog, don't be a dog. Alright? And then, like, whoa, boom. The lady still sings. She thinks that she's a dog whisperer, so she imagines that she just keeps on singing. Ooh, I'm a singer. Ooh, I'm a singer. Ooh, I'm the singer. Ooh, I'm the lady singer. Next thing, like as she's passing this property, since the dog is like yanking her along, as that's the thing that's going down. I'm a singer. That's the lady. Then she hits like this gangster high note, like yo, right? It's like yo at this point. Like no other like onomatopoeia is fitting to describe what activity is going on there other than yo, like with like bubble speeches, like outside it, like just with stars. Yo, she hits on high note, right? And then yo. Next thing, kapoing, kokong, pom, poing, kapoing, boing. I'm sorry, like I'm so distracted because my computer, it's slower than my lady in my analogy. In my analogy. Oh, wait again. Aki feeling ka wetsa lang mo na mara he bathong. Mzansi Africa, global warming much like this country burning. Oh, there is fire on the mountain. Nobody seems to be on the run. There is fire on the mountain top, and no one is for running. Yeah, as in the country's burning and nobody's running. Whatever, I'm trying to run. Funugamba lana South African grand, yo, hey. If the Lord does not rapture the church, yo, I'm leaving the country. Believe it or not, it's gonna happen. It's happening. I'm saying, no, never mind mona, never mind jealousy, but guilt. What's killing me is the fact that some people actually feel guilty. Mara uvulukisan nonsense yes, like it never. I never, Shem. Lost my 8. I'm gonna blow my nose in front of you. If my nose is blowing in front of you, it's only because I'm only human after all. But people treat me like trash, so really and truly, when we blow the nose, don't nobody care that you find them disgusting. Don't nobody. Cause if you gon' get abandoned, marched away from left, said goodbye, bon voyage did you make out of a South African citizen, then you have her blowing her nose all up in your grill. Coming. Decorum. For what? Manners for who? Doing the better thing for ing. Exactly. Anyway, whatever. So this lady's like, oh, hey. Out comes these like high notes. I'm not doing this anymore. We're not. I'm not singing. I don't like my singing voice like proper. That's what's good. It makes me cringe. Hey, Mara, this lady, she ain't cringing at her singing voice. As she's busy singing and the dog is barking. Woo, woo, woo. Woo, woo, woo. Woo, woo, woo. Then the dog starts to yodel. Oh my goodness, man, I'm a storyteller. The dog is like, so like what? The dog is now looking like demon possessed, and the lady's like, oh, my dog, I said don't be such a dog, now you are yodeling. And this lady continues to like raise these high notes with like a pitch on fire. Atlanta falsetto, I'm telling you right now, sounding like Sam Smith. And then poof, the gnomes fall, because you know how they say it ain't over until the fat lady sings. This old lady is also fat. Yeah, so when she starts to sing, the gnomes from inside this Illuminati mansion fall. Gnomes? Please, these are not gnomes. These are gargoyles. The gargoyles then fall, you guys, right? Like, they fall on the ground, because remember, they're mobile. They are portable. They were bought at the builder's warehouse. Yeah, they were not part of the structure. They were not built onto the pillars of his house. They were purchased so they could move. Yeah. And these gnomes, these like gargoyles, not gnomes, these gargoyles then fall on the floor. Trumping cool. Yeah, they're made of like what do you give me material, Lord? Yo, my brain. Okay, fine, we'll say cement, but I wanted to say was snap, like that material that makes the bleed, the man. Cement will do at this point. They're made of cement. Okay, cool. So they fall because this lady's voice is like, what? It's got this frequency that just travels through the sky. And evil entities in the presence of this godly woman's singing. Shada. They shada. So since this stuff is a satanic conduit, you know, it's out here carrying demonic spirits, I mean, it's shuddered, right? So this woman walks by, the dog gets agitated, and then the dog gets demon possessed because the entities are emanating something that is telling dog shut up. And then the dog is out just spazzing on the floor yodeling, and then the lady carries on singing because she imagines herself a dog whisperer. And when she sings, the gargoyles on the floor. I suga boing is the wrong onomatopoeia. Amen. It's cement. They both fall. Ga. And then they re-emerge. Since I get it was 1 and 2. 2 in the place of 1. Whatever. And then they split into 2 and then they re-emerge or whatever. They're now broken on the floor. And then like the lady, ne, upon like being done, like breaking these gnomes without even knowing that's what she did, then goes on right ahead to do whatever she wanna do. She just goes on. Like, she just passes. She wasn't intending on knocking here. She wasn't intending on pressing a bell. She wasn't intending on going in. If anything, she's now hastily trying to get home to deal with the dog's sickness because her dog was yodeling and she didn't understand why. She's going home now to deal with her yodeling dog, you guys. So she ain't got no time. That's what's good. Okay? To be frankly dealing with, like, come on, some like rich man's fallen gargoyles. Like, who cares? That merged into one. But when she leaves this rich man behind and goes home to do what she wanna do, yeah, the rich man then, the scene goes back to the rich man. Comes out of his house because he has discovered, he's made an understanding. He's met with an understanding that his gargoyles fell. And his gargoyles are the thing that were giving him prosperity and wealth. He went and bought an inanimate like creature, an inanimate object at the builder's warehouse, and then did a satanic ritual over it. What in the world? So now he's out here thinking, if these things fall, get bad luck, get it bad him. It's bad luck for me. That's what's good. So now he's out here panicking, and then he goes on right ahead and grabs, right? Now these things are shattered on the floor like a plate. Have you seen what happens to a plate when it breaks on the floor at last? It's shards, like throw it away. Don't waste time. Like proper, it's okay, like let go. Okay, let go. This stuff is like a shattered plate on the floor. This gargoyle is a shattered plate on the floor. But the owner of the shattered plate on the floor, otherwise known as these gargoyles, or this one gargoyle split into two and now re-emerging into one since it's now shattered. Okay. Oh, it's kids playing. Yeah, now, then starts to go inside his, like, study. And then his kitchen, and then just any room at all that he can find in the house with funny little DIY materials. And then he goes and he grabs like a hammer, some nails, some sticky tape, some press stick, some super glue, some, I don't know, spit, saliva, anything that can be used to perhaps, you know, patch a thing back together. A needle and with some wool and a like giant needle, alongside a thread and a skinny needle, just all manner of paraphernalia that is to be utilized for the very purpose of patching stuff up. And here lies this guy going to the outside where his little gnome slash gargoyle is all shattered and torn into like 10,000s of pieces. And then he's like, ooh, so that's him like crying over this like thing that's like shattered into a million pieces. And then he like starts first with the nail and the hammer, tries to put this like stuff back together by basically just kind of putting nails in between the broken parts, and then it just breaks this gargantuan like random fallen monstrosity even further. It just breaks it further. He's like, oh no, I shouldn't have used the needle. I shouldn't have used the needle. I shouldn't have used the needle. I should have done a better thing. Oh, I don't like singing, so we're gonna stop. He's like, not a needle, sorry, but like a nail. He's like, I shouldn't have used a nail, because he just breaks his little gargoyle further. His gargoyle that's now one again breaks it even further. That's what's good. And then he throws away the hammer with anger, and he throws away the nail with anger. He's like, oh, what else can I find here in my material? And he goes and grabs a spit. He's like, spits on and tries to see if he can't glue it back together with his saliva. The stuff just kind of falls apart. It's too heavy. And then he's like, oh, my saliva, oh, it's not working. And then he's like, but glue might. So then he grabs super glue, and he like tries to put this like monstrosity together with super glue, and he puts all the pieces together trying to figure out what not right. However, upon reassembling his little gargoyle, it's looking all, you know, perforated, weird, odd, like it's gonna fall apart. Plus some of the parts of this gargoyle are so fragmented, they're so tiny, the shards, the little fallen multiple pieces that have just kind of, you know, been strewn all over the show. Some of them you can't even find them, others have like, you know, they've fallen on the sand and the grass and the plants and the bed of roses. Like, you can't find them all. So basically the gnome has been like put back together with super glue, but there are parts of it missing. And then he's like, this looks like it could work, but they're so sensitive. So then he goes on right ahead and grabs the sticky tape. Yeah, the sticky tape, and then he like uses that sticky tape all over this gnome, like just all over, just slather this gnome with sticky tape from tip to toe, covering nothing, like closing its pores even, making sure it can't breathe, to make sure that the super glue and the sticky tape keep this conduit for satanic spirits running like an engine. Yeah, okay. And then after he does that, he's like, okay, I'm still a little bit insecure, so I'm gonna go and grab the big needle with the wool, and I'm going to stitch together, do you understand, the the sticky tape. I'm going to stitch together the sticky tape all over the show. Yeah, sticky tape stitches together with the wool. And after doing that, he's like, okay, it's looking a little bit different, but anyway, it's my gnome. It is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, gargoyle. Okay, gargoyle. Hey. And then upon realizing that, okay, like, well, things are still a little bit, uncertain at this point, he then goes on right ahead and grabs the skinny thread and the skinny needle, and then just does a second layer of stitching over there. And then he's like, okay, my gnome should stay, even though there are fragments of my gnome that are in the grass over there. Bottom line is, herein lies the very top of the matter, being a bottom line. At least the majority of the gnome is still intact. Okay. And then he goes on right ahead and puts it, like, this time around, instead of it being on the pillars on the sides of his staircase, since now it's like one gargoyle that split into two, and then it was put back together into one gargoyle after it broke, and now he can't split it into two again because it's kind of fragile now. It's all broken, so it has to be one thing. So he makes a decision to put it on the top of his roof. This little rich Illuminati rando. Yeah, that's what's good. And then it, like, chills there, hangs overnight on the roof, perched, looking more menacing than it did at first, as if though a gargoyle does not already look like a monster. Yeah, and now this thing is, like, stitched up. It's, like, put together with sticky tape and super glue and wool and thread, and it's got, like, saliva on it, so some, like, strange DNA. Like, it's just nasty, but, like, it's, like, apparently reassembled. Okay, yeah, and then he puts it on his roof. Yeah, puts it on his roof. The little old lady is chilling out there, in the wilderness at her house. Does not know that she has just shattered the life of a man just by singing worship songs to the king. Yeah, and then it starts to rain that night with, like, hard knock thunder and everything, and then a lightning strike literally just goes quacha, like, in the center of this gnome that is now perched on a ceiling. Do you understand? And this gnome that gets, like, struck by lightning falls to the ground again. And this time around, because this person has, what is this, put wool around it, sticky tape, wool and thread around it, the outside structure remains largely intact, but the inside, which is the gargoyle made of cement, that is now fine as dust. Now it's fine as dust, so it's basically now a sag of dust inside. Basically what would be the tantamount of super glue with saliva mixed with thread, mixed with wool, mixed with sticky tape. And all that's left for this man to do now is to just put this thing in the dustbin, and then go back to the builder's warehouse and buy another one to, like, redecorate. Except when that whole gargoyle is your daughter, I guess you can't buy another one, can you? When the production, when the builder's warehouse is your, what do you call this? Is the tantamount of you and your wife in 1984 conceiving a child. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you can't just go back and buy another one, can you? Yeah. When that's the story in question, then I suppose it's kind of like a little bit of a tough sell to basically repurchase, rebuy, redo, whatever you want to do with your little gnome / gargoyle, your conduit for demonic spirits, this little broken pottery called a wicked daughter that you have protected in her sins against her cousin, and now you are trying to patch that woman up with sticky tape, and all it's gonna do is send her to the grave once and for all. Goodbye. The odds were never truly in your favor, were they? Hunger Games? When the little old lady that was just singing a melody unto Christ while walking a dog, the dog of which was able to pick up that something was satanic, but she just imagined herself as a dog whisperer, could just sing a melody to a yodeling dog. When this person did not, when that little old lady is represented by that daughters of this rich man, like best friend that just decided to choose Jesus one day when she decided to choose Satan. Yeah, that's what's good. And so even though she was, innocently walking outside of a rich man's house, unaware that by mere virtue of singing melodious gospel songs, worship songs to heaven, just passing by a demon possessed house, that she would cause whatever demons were causing that house to operate like a well-oiled machine, to break on the floor. And then she went home and lived in her humble apartment after exorcising her dog, the dog of which was creation that groans to see the sons of God revealed. And so when there's evil about us, creation also just kind of gets into a spasmodic mode and is out here spazzing, out here yodeling as a dog, while the owner of the dog does not know. But why are you so agitated, doggy dog? Why are you so agitated, doggy dog? Until one day in the future, that little old lady is made to understand by the Lord that I saved you and protected you by rescuing you from the flames of hell first, and then making you just a good old-fashioned Christian, just singing melodies to heaven. And those melodies will be so powerful that when you walk past evil people's houses, all of their demonic conduits for satanic spirits just fall on the ground and break. And these people will then invest in putting sticky tape on these random paraphernalia of theirs until I personally intervene, like put a lightning strike on their roofs, and then whatever it is that they do will be turned into complete dust. Whatever they protect will be turned into complete dust, and all that will be left to do is to throw it in the dust bin. You know, parents, when at the literally all in the interest or all in the name of proliferating the general agenda of your children, when you destroy the lives of other people in the name of your children, understand that those children are going to be the bane of your existence later on. Those children are going to be the shrine of embarrassment to you as a doting dad and as a doting mother over an evil spectacle of a child. If you protect an evil child, parents, let's just put it out there, this thing is going to come back on your household, and it's going to embarrass you eventually. You are going to have villagers encircling your household with pitchforks, trying to assassinate the whole family for being the disturbance of the peace of the whole village. If at all the parents did not do a better thing by disciplining a child, the Bible, it is written therein, that teach a child in the way that he or she should go, and when he's older, he or she will not depart from it. But if as a parent you make haste to discover, at least you got that up. You got that up on what is this random diabolical child of yours. When you somewhere along the way wake up and realize that my child gets Satan. Thank you. When you wake up from your slumber to recognize that my child is a beastly devil. Yeah, on the day when you make a decision to support that kid anyway, tell yourself that daddy's little girl's gonna be protected anyway. When you don't try to uproot this rubbish out of this child when it is still young. When you do not try to stop this kid from doing this thing because you're telling yourself that my kid gotta do what my kid gotta do to get ahead. On that day, you are not only setting that kid up for failure, but you are setting yourself up for failure. So herein lies the gnome in my example, or my gargoyle. It is my cousin, the one with whom I was best friends, and the rich man, otherwise known as rich with knowledge of the world that leads to death, chilling on the broad road that leads to destruction that many enter into, that imagines that he knows best how under heaven to basically come out tops ahead of everybody. In the movie Avatar, if you guys have seen Avatar from long ago, so Jake Sully tries to join the camp of the Na'vi after getting left overnight to fend him for himself in Pandora, and he was just all confused, and then Neytiri finds him about to die basically in the wilderness, and then takes him to her people to gauge if at all they should kill him or save him. And Jake Sully speaks to Neytiri's mom and is like, once he has been put before the tribal council, it's like, please don't, like, I'm prepared to learn your ways. I'm prepared to study all of your things that you do. Please just, like, don't hurt me. Let me study you guys. Let me stay. Let me sleep overnight, etc. type thing. And not Jake Sully, but Neytiri's mother is then like, it is hard to fill a cup that is already full. Danke-san. In other words, when you already have so much knowledge and so much understanding that whether or not it is putting you on slippery paths is irrelevant, it's leading you to the abyss. It's all this understanding that you think you're gonna run with it. It's your basically worldly wisdom, okay, that is leading you in some pretty ominous paths. Yeah, you will make decisions hoping that you are benefiting yourself, and then you're gonna realize that like a boomerang, it's gonna come back and shoot you in the heart and end you, literally end you, because you decided to walk in a worldly wisdom where in an individualistic capacity you went on right ahead to cover your own little turf at the expense of everything and everybody else, especially when you had other understanding concerning the individual in question that you are disadvantaging, the understanding of which lent you or have lent you towards the decision that was with discretion to do a better thing, because lo muntu lona uzonilimaza. This person utolilimaza. When you've got historical data, accounts of having done such a thing as this before and it didn't work out for you, and you still run with it, this time around it was a second chance you were given, but one from which upon making the wrong decision concerning it, you're gonna get shot dead this time. You're not going to get a second chance. So, my uncle, yeah, I got a dream that disturbed me ever so richly. My uncle, who is this cousin's father, alright? There was a time when I was living in his house, Kotladi, Soweto, some time ago. When I was 21, I nearly committed suicide because I was depressed, because I was left in a situation similar to this one, and I was living in their house. I nearly died. It looked like I was going nowhere, like I was not going to get anything, and this cousin was treating me like the scum of the earth, and everybody was aware that she was mean to me. The only person that was kind to me in that whole household was the little sister, and if it wasn't for the little sister, I don't know where I would be today. Very well. Now that you have gauged that, gotten that understanding, okay, allow me to continue to tell the story. There was a video, a series that I did where I was describing this whole dynamic of me where before, long ago, back when people had basically left me to commit suicide, left me to die. Even though, let's just backtrack a little bit, I came from high school where I was a star student. I was an academic. I was one of those most likely to succeed type children. Everybody was looking at me as a future star. So it's not like I was deceiving anybody. I was not confusing as to whether or not I'd make it. I was not a derelict child. I was not an ominous little disobedient rando that was basically spinning on the spot and bouncing off the walls. If anything, that cousin that is the daughter of this man was that thing. That was an atom, just bouncing, unrested, unstable, constantly vibrating. Off the walls was she bouncing, and nobody could hold her horses, nobody could bridle her. She was that wayward child ever since we were but youths. That's what's good. So her father was more than privy to her antics and her wayward fashion, yeah, in a way that he also was privy to my obedience and my responsibility concerning my future, even though I was just a teenager, just like his daughter, who is my exact age, except older than me by just a couple of months. Very, very, very well. So this father that has got this child that is obviously just not going to do anything valuable in the future, got to a point where he just gave up on her and let her just do whatever you want to do, girl, because clearly you have no discipline. I'm not disciplined. And then this father made an first of all, he knew I was an academic. When I was in high school, I got into university, knew I was still an academic then, dropped out of varsity because of the fact that my mom was not paying my fees, and I ended up living with them for reasons that I highlighted in that video, so please go check it out. I wanted to stay in Johannesburg. My mom was busy out here working in KZN, and during that time I was kind of coldly treated by the family except for my baby cousin. Let's put that out there. So this man treated me like I was nothing in his household, even though he had contrary data at his disposal to understand that I came from the womb of a woman who was his sister, and this woman had a reputation for producing genius children that do very well in school. Only ones my mother was the only one with kids on the honors roll in the family. Let's just put that out there. There's literally no one else in my family. No one else in my family that has a history of academic success in high school, except for my cousin's son, who is a Gen Z? When children in high school now, are they Gen Zs? They're Gen Zs, ne? Yeah. So he's not even our generation, but among the millennials, among the children basically of my mom, the elderly, like my mom, uncle, that whole line. There's nobody that's ever given birth to genius children other than my mom. My mom is the only one that has ever experienced what it's like to attend award ceremonies where your child is just like packing them in, piling them on, slaying everybody in school. That was my older sister. She's the only one that's ever produced children where upon going to school to basically get your kid's report card, teachers are like, are you Karabo's mom? Are you the mom? Oh, I can see the resemblance. Yeah, my mom was the only one that had kids like those. Literally only one. Everybody else was like a whole plain Jane, average, mediocre rando. I don't even think there's anybody other than my mom's sister's child, my mother's sister's youngest daughter that made it into university. My older sister and I were the only ones. The rest of them pasiteka what is called S. S is school leaving. In other words, you cannot enter into university. You can only enter into a technicon or something of that nature. My mother was the only one that produced genius children. Let's just put that out there. So when you as a man have an older sister that has got children that are basically South Africa's future, yeah, you make a horridly unwise decision when you decide to elaborately pontificate the freaking stupendous agenda of your dirty child. Do you understand? Above those kids. Because we're not about satane le mosadi wa teng. Because we're not about satane le mosadi wa teng. Because we're not o bone hore ngwana ga go tsawe ka ditlhare. Ha ka tama ba lo ya cousin ya teng, di cousin tsa teng, to make sure that you're the only one that comes out top. Yeah, when evidence is stark to the contrary that something, do you understand, is wrong, something is obviously sort of right in your family, when everybody is wondering how did the tables turn just like that from this woman's family versus her brother and her sister, how did her children just end up nowhere, like how did her kids just get sterilized, like but like how does a woman's genius womb produce no fruit in the future, while kids that were expected to just end up baby mama drama, struggling and develop pushing carts at Pick and Pay, frustrated by husbands that are not faithful, while that like basically she was supposed to be the grain. These typical chicks in the black community with their grain. Yeah, when you produce kids that are supposed to just end up the grain, and then they become the only ones that are okay. They become basically stars that nobody saw that coming. But hey, I guess, tables turn when there is nothing in the street that you can stiff that can account for why the tables turned, except for Kebuloi Mokhutlier. This is South Africa. Believing in Boloi. There's nobody that does not believe in Bosatan. So there is also nobody in the country that does not in the country, but in the community, my particular village, if you want to call it that does not know that my uncle's household is Satani. That my uncle's household it's clear. It is obvious, but black people, because all of them are busy with their hands in somebody's cookie jar, they're all prepared to pretend that they don't notice that yeah, so nobody's prepared to confess that I'm not totally prepared to confess, but you see, the Lord would have spared my uncle embarrassment with his wife and everybody else that belongs to that family if my uncle was honest with the observation he made that his daughter has graduated to new levels of demonic possession, and it is frankly unacceptable. He was supposed to, at the point that his daughter became a diabolical beast, he was supposed to stand back and be like, I would not have stood for this. I don't vote for this activity. I, frankly, am like, go do you, because you've always been wayward. Daughter, you've always been out of line. You've always done whatever the heck you want to do. You have always disrespected me. You've always been the girl that doesn't come home for like an entire week, causing me to drive all over Johannesburg looking for you. You've always been that girl. So since now you love Satani, it is a trajectory that unfortunately as a dad I wish you didn't go into. I wish you had never loved yourself some Satan, but I can see how it happened. It was entirely a probability with you because you've always just done whatever the heck you want to do. And so granted you've always done whatever you want to do, this time around I get my daughter. Do you understand? But back then I was dealing with time and space, with nature, with things I could calculate, with 1 + 1 is equals to 2. This time around I'm dealing with 1 + 1 is equals to demon attack. I don't know how to deal with that. It's anomalous. It's on another plane. It's another atmospheric disturbance, and I'm not trying to deal with that. So if at all, Mina, I don't want to have my hands tarnished as a dad. I gotta just sit down and admit that it's very uncomfortable to have a daughter that is this wayward. I wish you'd have done better. I seriously wish I had produced better offspring. But like, really and truly, seeing as you want to go and be the spawn of Satan, do you? I don't understand things of the spirit. I really don't. I don't understand things of the spirit. And I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to touch them. I don't want to poke at them because I don't know what's going to manifest out of that. But either. And so for those reasons, I don't know what this thing that I'm seeing with my daughter is. All I know is that this time around, I'm not running with it. I'm not going to deal with it. And the only reason I'm not dealing with it is because of the fact that I know my daughter, as I say anything, it's nonsense. Ever since she was a child, I've been struggling with this child ever since she was a kid. So for a man to basically try and make a daughter that he has made an observation as a devil worshipper. He has made an observation that she is a devil worshipper. A man that has made that kind of observation about a kid that's always been wayward, now turning to devil worship. He should have from the he should have admitted what is true and said, I don't condone this. He was supposed to say, I don't condone this, because then on that day, when judgment falls on his wayward child, it would not also fall on him. He would just look like a dad with a wayward child that went astray that he could not save. And everybody would forgive him, and everybody would have compassion on him. Everybody would pat him on the shoulder and say, Aski simngese, simzamele, simtandazelile, umtanakho kodwa wahamba anyway, washona anyway. We are sorry that you produced the spawn of Satan for a child. He would have been comforted when calamity came on his daughter, but now he's just going to look like he participated in the mutiny against me, and he's also going to look like he participated in the mutiny against all of her victims, and so the whole family is going to crash and burn as this Adam's family, this devil worshipping random thing that's going on. Malume Due should have done a better thing, and the toro na that I got Hossein nje Matha, it broke my heart because I'm like, as in nna ke kgathetse ke boloi, ke kgathetse ko tlhoriswa ke boloi, ke kgathetse ke ho latella morago ke boloi. Like, remember yesterday I spoke about how witchcraft begets witchcraft, and not yesterday, day before yesterday I spoke about how witchcraft begets witchcraft. Boloi bu bigeta boloi, satani u bigeta satani. People that get bewitched and people who find themselves in a bad bunch because of sorcery, right? They turn to sorcery because life just becomes so impractical. Life just becomes so hard. Do you understand? That they have got to now use sorcery to try and patch things up. They have to now use witchcraft to get out from the rut that witchcraft put them in. So my uncle has been begotten unto darkness because my cousin is a little Satan. The Bible says that you must not support or stand with a thief or a murderer or a person that is a fugitive, because they will be a fugitive for life. They will keep on running away. And so therefore, when you support somebody that is running away from the law, from apprehension, you on that day are in and of yourself going to end up, do you understand, as a fugitive. You will run with the person you are trying to protect. That is absolutely wrong. You will be an accessory to murder. You will find yourself in a position to essentially be apprehended for crimes you did not commit, but that you concealed were being committed in your midst because you were busy protecting a wayward child. You know, Christianity is this, it's amazing, it's lovely that way, because we honor God, we fear the Lord, we stand with Jesus Christ, and not so much with mankind, and so we're given maturity even when we become parents and our children become wayward. It is unfortunate that sometimes that happens. It is unfortunate that sometimes happens. We ought pray for children, we ought do everything in our power to set them up for future success. But should these kids slip through the cracks anyway, the Bible says the soul that sins is the one that shall die. So if this child sins, they will unfortunately be bound in chains by God, judged here on earth and ultimately also in eternity if they never turn their lives over to Christ. It's a painful, sorrowful thing for us. But we understand that to live is Christ, but to die is gain. And that our present sufferings are nothing in comparison to the future glory that we stand to gain. It's like Christian parents who get lambasted with attack and opposition by the world, when they refuse to attend their gay son's wedding, when they refuse to bless that wedding, they get looked at as these bigots that frankly are irresponsible and dogmatic. When this kid has chosen death, and it is the soul that sins that shall die, these parents have got a responsibility to make it clear that I don't condone this. I trained my child up in the way that they should go. I let them know what needs to happen. And so when they choose a homosexual lifestyle, that is not something I'm about to stand for. That's while I love my son, I am not about to go and attend his wedding where he is marrying a man, and so on and so forth. You get my point. Christianity gives you an ability to stand with God even when it's hard, because you fear the Lord, which is the beginning of wisdom, instead of man. You fear the Lord and understand that at the end of the day you're going to have to account for sins individually as a dad and individually as a mom, as opposed to collectively as a family. Everybody got to stand for themselves in front of God. So when you protect or cover a child that is obviously a derelict, obviously wayward, you put yourself to be in a position of being deluged by God when he brings judgment on that kid. You put yourself in a position to basically be massacred when your child gets brought low because your kid was destructive in society. If your child is a serial killer, you have no business standing with them. You gotta tell everybody, literally on a rooftop, that I don't condone this. I love my child and I would much rather they were not doing this thing. And it would be great if my kid did a better thing. If my kid repented, turned away from their evil ways, and basically was screwed into rational thinking later on. But I will not condone what this kid is doing. So this kid might also, herein lies another facet of this particular conversation. The child might actually be disincentivized from continuing if they are met with like literally an abhorrence of their deeds by their parents. This kid might be disincentivized from continuing, and so therefore might actually gain eternal life only because they got disciplined by their earthly parents. This kid might actually gain life because whoever it is that they expected to be proud of them made it clear that I'm not, I can't be. I am not proud of you, I cannot be proud of you, because this thing that you have done is an abomination. This thing that you have concocted is an abomination. This kid would then, might then have stayed their hand. My cousin's wickedness might have been slowed down, maybe even entirely eradicated, if early on enough, upon people discovering what in the world she's into, they immediately rejected her. If they had rejected her in that stance, she might have stopped, so as to win approval again. Instead, she's only ever been put on a mountaintop, like Simba the little lion, after being born, and having little Mustafa with paint on his cheeks, being like, ooh, a king is born. Yeah, they went and they grabbed her and heralded her in front of all of society as something that was amazing. They praised her. They praised her. They thoroughly went on right ahead and gave her approval, and so it emboldened her. They emboldened her. They magnified her evil, and now all of them are about to get taken away by a freaking tsunami. That's what's good. This tsunami, of which is whatever under heaven it is that I am. Umuntu wakhona has been dedicating tooth and nail day and night, everything of her being, to trying to kill me. Do you understand? Neutralize her so that she can get away with murder. She keeps on messing with my ministry. She keeps on trying to compromise my Christianity so she can ultimately do a death spell on me that's gonna succeed, because she's been struggling all these years to achieve such a thing as that. That's how evil her child is. Her child could have put me in the grave if I did not have the Holy Spirit. If I was not born again, she would have succeeded entirely to murder me because she's into human sacrifices. That's how bad the situation is. That's how bad the situation is. And her dad was like, I don't know what this is. All I know is that it's working out for me, and finally I get to look like I raised a child well. Finally I get to look like I did well. Like I did well. I finally get to look like when it is my mom that was the single parent struggling, moving from house to house, raising children that were geniuses in school, self-regulated, self-motivated children that did really well in spite of a very hard life, in spite of a struggling mom. That's what's good. She's the one that produced stars, but now today she's looking like she failed abysmally at trying to put food on the table, while her brother is looking like the star. When her children, let me not say children because it might be unfair on my little cousin, that wayward random that was next to me in age, my exact age, and my best friend in the family as well, Onali loose cannon. She was all over the show. Johannesburg that's Mastrata. She was hectic. She was all over the show when we were children. All over the show. One of those kids that give parents headaches. You are halfway waiting for her to come home pregnant 3 times in teenage years. Yeah, that was what under heaven it is that my cousin was. She was all over the show. Do you understand? And so when you have a kid like that, and you can see that she has messed up with the future of the responsible child growing up, and you don't do a better thing, then you're in trouble, right? So after my grandmother passed away, given that this uncle of mine was the only son, the baton was passed on to him to mediate between matters of the family and basically be the head honcho running the show. Meaning that all of us, whenever we had issues, we would take them to him to mediate. He was the person that was the intervention central guy. The person that when an intervention was being staged, he was the one called into the party. He therefore is walking in a dereliction of duties by disregarding my particular case. Whatever it is, that is the baton that my grandmother took down to him. He failed at it. I tried to call on him when I was being persecuted by everybody, my mom and the like, and when his daughter also was persecuting me. Not only did I try to call on him, one time he came to my particular situation, and upon hugging me, telling me that he will take care of me, he loves me as an uncle, then went on to tell me that my child is rubbish and I know it. He literally, those were his words. He said to me, "Ngwanaka ke rubbish," verbatim. But instead of Ngwanaka, he used her name. He was like, "Ngwanaka ke rubbish, he was like, "Ngwanaka ke rubbish, but those were his exact words verbatim. And that gave me so much comfort because it made me realize that even though it's his daughter, he's not going to take her side because wrong. And by then, I'd already succeeded. Remember, after getting out of that household where I was treated like trash, I rose up out of it. I flew like a bird, despite mistreatment of my person. And so therefore won respect, even though he was supposed to respect me all along. Given that I was an academic at school, I won my uncle's respect after he mistreated me when I was living at his house. And I rose and I flew and I kicked his daughter to the curb. Do you understand? I flew, I rose above it all. And during the time when I was very successful working in corporate South Africa, he made it clear that he's proud of me because I nearly literally flipped out and died. I was once upon a time so lowly and struggling so much that it looked like I was never ever going to come up again. He essentially shook my hand for shaking off the dust off my body and striving and making it and succeeding again. He shook my hand. He not only, he did that back then, and so ended up respecting me. After the cousin afflicted the living daylights out of me, after his daughter, essentially, what's going on, Lana? After his daughter afflicted the living daylights out of me, during the time on that day when he said to me that Ngwanaka ke rabishi, he also said you are very strong. You are strong in a way that frankly is very admirable. Keep it up. So now it has been literally a whole almost decade that has progressed since that date. An extra like maybe 8 years from that particular date. Yeah, where he was telling me that get strong. So if at all I have maintained that particular strength another 10 years, another 8 years, have I stayed in that strength, how much more then is his mindset or his opinion of me ever more solidified as to the kind of woman or human being that I am? How much better am I then now in his thoughts than what I was back then? He thought I was strong then and he knew his daughter was rubbish then. How much more now does he think his daughter is rubbish, and how much stronger now does he think I am, now that another 8-9 years have progressed from that date when he was telling me those things? So this is a man that knew exactly under heaven what was going on over here, but then chose to run with a false reputation for having raised a child well. When your kid is a derelict, a miscreant, when you're, how can I describe this? In Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls music video, yeah, TLC, there is a mother that keeps on talking to the son, talking to the son. Please don't go this, don't sell drugs. There's a better way around this. I will take care of you, I will whatever. But this kid was trying to make ends meet no matter what, and so for those reasons, this kid ended up getting himself shot by gang members in a drug exchange. And as a ghost, he tried to talk to his mom again, but the mother was this time around just surviving, going through life after having lost her son. That's what's good. Yeah, well, this woman, this chick is just like that son in Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. Like your dad, do better. Like, out of all of my cousins, this chick is one of the only ones that had a dad around. In single mother households. Do you understand? And she had both a mom and a dad. She was basically living in luxury opulence, and despite having that force around her,